Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're talking about the Gaboon. Now the Gaboon is going to get thrown around quite a lot today, because it is something interesting. This has been in my hands basically non-stop since I got it, and I've seen some of your comments on your last video, and I thought I would want to address some of them in this little getting to know the Gaboon section. Thank you guys so much for watching. Before we get started, leave a comment, let me know how your day's been going. Leave a subscribe if you like what you see and you want to see more, and leave a like rating. Leave a like if you want to recommend this content to other people, right? To show that you've liked it, because the algorithm really likes when you leave likes. And so yeah, getting back to the Gaboon, in terms of tolerance, it's not loosened up whatsoever, and I've actually swapped this to be on stainless washers, and also no weights with the bushings as the weights, and that has made this thing a very much just about blade bias enough to the point where it doesn't chaplain amazingly, but still will chaplain. And obviously, it's still rollover as much as you want. Rollover, I think, is more technique necessarily than balance. But I would say chaplains are much more affected by balance than a rollover is. The beauty of this blade is still unparalleled. Oh my goodness. And yeah, on stainless washers, I mean, noise-wise, it doesn't make a crazy amount of difference. And so I don't think that it's a particularly insane little modification to do. I'm really happy that it comes with stainless washers, and of course your standard phosphor bronze washers. And to be honest, I put these stainless ones in there because of their durability. These stainless washers will last probably longer than the Balisong. I know, that's a bit sad, but I mean, it's true. These stainless washers aren't going anywhere. As long as you keep it fairly oiled up fairly regularly, they're going to be pretty good. The sound did make a slight difference with these bushings. It's a bit more ringy than before. And the default layout, actually, for the Gaboon is 2 weight pins in the bottom, right? So, I don't know how well I'll be able to show this, but there's 2 holes, in there, right? There's 2 holes back there. Yeah, there you go. You can see the 2 holes there, kind of nicely shown up there. So there's 2 pins that go through, so on this side, on that side, and of course that titanium weight that is in between. The difference that 1 weight pin makes is pretty substantial. I think for most people who prefer very neutral Balisongs, that will probably be your go-to. Yeah, just take out a weight pin. I personally took out the inside weight pin in the closed position, so I kept only the outside weight pin, which makes it obviously on the outside here, which means when you flick out from the closed position, it should be a little bit more forwards balanced. But do play around with the weight pins if you do have a Gaboon. And that's pretty much the only advice I can say in terms of finding what balance is good for you. I think a more traditional balance as well that could be achieved would also be this bushing pins with the 2 screws, like the little weight screws that you get with the Gaboon. And honestly, I think it's actually quite amazing how finely you can tune the balance of this guy. I think for me, a perfect balance in terms of competitiveness versus fun balance would be if there were lightweight screws, just so I could have the weight of 1 screw in here, rather than having to do the 2 sides. Now, of course, you could just do 1 screw, but I hate the asymmetry, and I wouldn't like the imbalance to one side of the handle versus the second. And so that's why I've decided to just stick with the no screws approach. But I will also play around with some weight pins in higher positions. So perhaps, up here, give the handle a more uniform weight distribution. Because I find the lightweightness of this Balisong means that any weight added to it does make a pretty significant difference. But that's also one of the things I love. I love how you can play with the weight balance of it. I think one thing I wish that would be done would be to make this form factor of bushings with no weights much more blade bias, so that you would have to put in other weights to have the Balisong be, more flippable. However, that would be a double-edged sword, because then you lose one of the most appealing traits to the Gaboon, which is its weight. in favor for having something that has much more variance in flippability, in balance, I should say. And so I really do enjoy the lightweightness of the Balisong, and it is ever so slightly lighter than a than a Prisma with the end weights in. And a Prisma V1 with the end weights in. Ever so slightly lighter, at least in this setup. Actually, I think even in the default setup, it's ever so slightly lighter, like only by a few grams. However, I won't say that it flips like a feather, because it doesn't. It flips like it's got some good heft to it. The balance is really, really well done. Big shout out to Grant at Fellowship Blades. It's a really, really fabulously thought out design, to the point where you can make this guy heavier, right? If you prefer handle bias, you can make it heavier. I think my one change would be make the blade like a teeny bit longer, but of course then you run into other problems. But I think, you know, a blade that was like a slightly longer, maybe going up to that bottom jimping line there, would have been perfect for the extra little balance that the blade could use. And that way you could keep the Balisong very slow, slightly heavier. But in its lightest configuration, which I have it in at the moment, it's still very much more than flippable. It does give you a little bit of squiddy syndrome going to something like the Serif, or actually it's not too bad. It does give a little bit of squiddy syndrome in terms of it is so lightweight that going to other Balisongs does make them feel kind of disproportionately heavy. However, you get used to switching between the two or the three or however many Balisongs you have, and so I now find that my Serif, despite feeling significantly heavier than this guy here, it doesn't feel like a block. It still feels very much manipulatable and maneuverable, which is one thing that I think is quite interesting, because I find squiddies make normal weight Balisongs feel like they're much more sluggish, whereas this doesn't necessarily do that. It just makes them feel like you have to apply a lot more effort into your flips, which I guess is quite nice. This is very much light on the fingers and the wrists, and so if you want some really lazy flipping, I think the Gaboon with this false edge is really, really nice. The Gaboon with a false edge is something that you can really just not pay attention to, flip around, get all the fun of flipping. It's a very tactile experience, despite it being quite lightweight. The sound is nice. It's not super ringy, which some people prefer, but personally, I'm not one for the ringy. I like the titanium hollow sound. Which this has a bit of, and I do enjoy that sound. But it's not something for me to have like a ding, 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 which was the main reason why I got rid of my Chab clone, and also one of the things behind getting rid of the one Tsunami clone. Do I still regret selling the one Tsunami clone? Somewhat, yes. But it was too good of a timing, to be honest. The timing of selling that thing, it was too perfect. It just happened at such a convenient time where I could have used the money, and so it was just a fantastic, albeit slightly messy sale, in terms of, you know, I sent something with the wrong declared value and it was input text and whatnot. But anyways, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about my extra thoughts on the Gaboon. Yeah, it's pretty unique. I can't really compare it flipping wise to anything. It is sort of similar to the Thai Barebones clone by Snowflake or Bally X. But then again, still no, it's got a lot of its own unique character. It is something you kind of would have to try for yourself, which is the most annoying feature I think that a Balisong can have, but also one of the best. I only say annoying from a review standpoint because you guys at home are going to be like, hey, what does this flip like? You know, how does this experience itself? Especially for those of you who, you know, don't have disposable change to just buy whatever Balisong you want, or you live in restricted countries and so you want to minimize getting Balisongs like this in, or you just don't live in the States and so you can't go to a blade show or anything. Finding out how Balisongs flip is usually one of the most beneficial, and I would even argue to say important traits. But it's not something I'm going to be able to necessarily give you in plain words here. It flips similar to some other things, but not similar enough that I can say it flips like X, Y, or Z. But I can say it does flip absolutely fantastically. It is a Balisong that I'm really enjoying, a lot more than I thought I would. And it actually sort of does exactly what I want the armed shark tsunami to do. It's lightweight, so it's nimble. It has a really good balance, and the adjustable balance is pretty much perfect. I would like a little more handle weight, but that's like literally it. So maybe actually the Invar handles with the bushings would be perfect, because I know they are slightly heavier than the standard scales, or slabs, sorry. And I know that they're slightly more handle biased, so maybe that would be perfect for me. But I like the look, but I also don't like the look. Some people may be worried about the slipperiness of the design. I can't really say it's slippery whatsoever. It's got some really beautiful coating that just makes it absolutely phenomenal. And it actually puts the Serif to shame a little bit with the grip. I really like this smooth but somehow grippy texture, which to my little brain makes no sense. And so, yeah, that's about it. That's when we're going to leave it for today, guys. Let me know any other comments or questions you have down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe, share the video, check out the links in the description. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.